don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said, vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this, I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlemen, yield.
What a scumbag. What he just said is so despicable. He goes, you knew that you should have lied.
That's what he's saying.
The only reason Biden got off was because his brain is goo.
That's right.
Why he. So it's not gratuitous. It's the literal reason that he's not being.
He's saying, why are you including an accurate assessment of what you found when you investigated and interviewed Mr. Biden? Here,
in the rules, Mr. Herr, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to.
What is a choice here is him lying to the American public constantly about everything. Russiagate.
He's telling the truth here.
Russiagate,
right?
January 6th. No, what he's doing is he's trying to pretend that the investigator was the one making it political. He's the one making it political.
No, I know that, but I'm saying to say the one reason Joe didn't get prosecuted for his mishandling because they're prosecuting Trump. The whole reason Joe got off is he's senile, and it's obvious to the guy interviewing him he can't prosecute. And this poor guy who looks young probably didn't know how the game is played. What I would have done if I was him is prosecuted him and let Joe testify.
Yeah, right.
And go, no, he's great.
Joe, here's, of course, we hear, you remember this, Joe Scarborough, right?
This is my favorite.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite. He goes full state. This is like if you were watching Chinese TV or North Korean TV or old Soviet Union TV. They don't even do this stuff in Russia anymore.
F you.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what? I don't really care. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Start your tape because for the first time all morning, I'm going to tell the truth. Why do you have to signal you're going to tell the truth? By the way, the reason he says that, because that's what liars do when they're about to tell the biggest lie they've ever told. And here it comes. It's like when someone says, hey, I'm a straight shooter. You know that guy's a liar.
Wait, Jimmy, hold on. I got to get my tape started.
Yeah, get your tape started.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, God, I wouldn't say it.
Okay, Jimmy, can I just say something? I think Joe is right, and for two reasons. This Biden is not only less racist, but he probably doesn't shower with his kids anymore.
That's right. You could just see his CIA handler that morning prepping Joe Scarborough for his show. Okay, Joe, now you got to come at this very aggressively because studies show that America loves being scolded by someone who sells soap on TV. Don't worry. This is going to work out great. Don't worry about it. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. Okay, first of all, who's still using tape? What's the deal, Joe? Do you still stop your car with your feet like Fred Flintstone too? You're using tape? Start your tape? And of course, if you don't agree with Morning Joe, F you, America. That's right. F you. America is in an abusive relationship with MSNBC, just so you know. And there's all the proof anybody ever needed, Kurt. He's referring to him as a version of Biden. making us believe that there's a giant warehouse full of Bidens.
Yeah.
Like a scene from Westworld.
Biden 4.0, dude.
If it's not the truth, you wouldn't say it. That's what he said. If it's not the truth, I wouldn't say it. That's exactly what a liar says. Why would that even come up?
Yeah, why?
Who thinks of in terms of, oh, I better only say the truth? That's supposed to be a given, but not to liars like Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe. So this is just some of my favorite. Now we have Chris Cillizza, professional liar for the corporate media. Now, after Wall Street Journal wrote this article saying that Joe Biden, who everybody knew he was demented from day one, now he comes out and gives a mea culpa, Chris Cillizza. He's going to apologize. You think I'm kidding? Watch.
As a reporter, I have a confession to make. I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being.
I should have pushed harder. You mean you should have pushed at all? I should have pushed. I just didn't do a good enough job.
Never.
I'm always doing great. Huh. So let's listen to it again.
As a reporter, I have a confession to make. I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being and any signs of decline. So let me explain.
Any signs of decline?
Joe Biden was president from 2020 to 2024. I worked at CNN through 2022. During that time, the early part when I was at CNN, 2020 to 2022, Republicans would regularly ping me and say, why don't you ask more questions to Joe Biden and how he's doing? He's 76, 77, 78-year-old man. And I would sort of brush them off because what I would say is, there's no obvious evidence that he's declining. Yeah, he moves a little slower, he talks a little slower, but there's no evidence that he's declining. And
there's no actual evidence that he's declining, unless you watch several videos of Joe Biden for yourself. There's no actual evidence. Here we go.
The White House and the people around Joe Biden were absolutely adamant that suggesting anything, asking the question about whether he was in some physical, mental, or both decline was offensive. How could you? It's age shaming. And I think that impacted me at some level because while I did ask the question from time to time of, not directly the White House, but aides and people around in that orbit, I didn't really push on it, if I'm being honest. Now, once I left CNN and once it became a little bit more clear to me about Biden's age, I think I did write pretty regularly and talk pretty regularly about how I wasn't sure that this guy was up to it. And then obviously after the June 27th debate, everybody...
You mean after I lost my job at CNN and it was safe? And it wasn't... Yeah. And I started to kind of around the edges talk a little bit more about this. So he's apologizing.
Back now, Jimmy.
So he's apologizing for not looking into something that he was so convinced about. He should have looked into it more. That's what he's saying.
Jimmy, look at his apartment. You think in New York that's cheap?
No, of course not.
He doesn't pay rent.
Including me, was writing and talking about it. The reason that I bring this up is in the last 48 hours, there have been two stories, one by the New York Times and one by the Wall Street Journal, that document the decline of Joe Biden and how we probably should have known then and reported then what we know now. So that's what's got me thinking about the fact that I probably should have pushed harder on the Biden age stuff. Because in retrospect, it's clear that the people close to him knew that at best, he had some good days and some bad days. June 27th, the debate clearly was a bad day. But if the bad day was that bad as he performed on that debate stage, the fact that he had been president without a whole lot of questions being asked about his physical and mental decline, and I'll add, the fact that he continued to be president from June 27th until January 20th, 2025, I think is a little bit concerning and begs the question of, when did people near him know? What did they know? And why did they not share? I get protecting Biden's privacy, but he's the president of the United States, right? This isn't just your grandpa who you want to take the keys from, but you're not to his car, but you're not totally sure how to approach it. This is the sitting president of the United States who will continue to be after June 27th.
Yeah. Why all the more serious your lack of investigation? Because this was the sitting president of the United States. And it was obvious to anybody who watched Joe Biden for 5 seconds on video. The guy didn't know how to get on or off a stage. That's what led to my joke. Why don't they buy him a dog to lead him off stage? They can't buy him a dog?
Yeah.
And so this guy's like, yeah, this is really serious. Yeah, I know. That's why you guys suck so extra hard. That's why Chris Cillizza is a liar for money. That's why he has a nice apartment in Manhattan. That's why he did
number one first.
And he's pretending now that, yeah, this is really important. You know what? Those guys were lying to me. That's the old Chris Cuomo defense about, the government was telling me ivermectin was horse paste. That I was lied to. Yeah, I know. You're supposed to assume they're lying, you liar. And Chris Cuomo knew they were lying. Just like this guy knew that Joe Biden was demented. But when he worked at CNN, just like Chris Cuomo when he worked at CNN, their money was paid for by the establishment, and they weren't allowed to tell the truth, and they were okay with that. He's 100% okay with not telling the truth. 100%.
I think he's worse. I think Lizzo's worse than Cuomo because Fredo, is from a political family of Democrats. It's like the level of pressure on him, and he's more of a blank. I feel this guy's supposed to be an actual journalist. We know Chris Cuomo's not a journalist; he's a talking head. But isn't this guy? Isn't his pedigree that he's a real journalist?
He's supposed to be a real reporter.
I think Chris Cuomo doesn't remember anything he said on CNN because he read it off a prompter, just like the movie Anchorman. He's brick. I really do think that about him. Because his producer, like this guy, presumably, and probably not, but presumably this guy comes up with his own stuff, his own material. Chris Cuomo, it's being written for him by a producer.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Was the president for another 6 months. And we don't know how far back signs of this physical and mental decline went.
We do.
Yes, we do. Again, he's still lying. Well, we don't know how far. Yes, we do. At least 2019 when he was running for president. At least then.
It's amazing what higher education and bona fides are. It's like I'm allowed to say the truth I can see with my eyes because I have enough schooling. You, who can see this way ahead of me, like that old fable, the emperor has no clothes, because this is not a new thing. You are supposed to, are you an expert? Like you're not supposed to look at the thing.
Don't put it just on myself or just on journalists, because I know journalists did ask, and I can tell you, I mean, I know from my experience, there was a shame factor that went into that. People
a shame factor.
around Biden worked to make you feel bad when you asked whether he was up to the job of being president, running for president again, and serving as president for another.
So I'm going to ask really important questions as long as someone doesn't make me feel bad about them. I'm going to ask really important. These guys are supposed to be reporting and asking questions of the most powerful people in the world. That's your job. Your job is to find out when they're lying and expose them. But there's they would make me feel bad. Talk about a beta male, the exact opposite of what should. But of course, this is the guy who gets elevated to the top of journalism in America because that's the kind of people that the establishment and the billionaires want. They want a cuck and a beta male like that who's going to be easily shamed from asking a real question. And even if he knows the truth, which he did, he'll never tell it because they're going to make him feel bad. Meaning they're going to ostracize you from the group.
Yeah.
Like all my friends did over Russiagate, Ukraine, and COVID.
They weren't.
And I still did it. I still told the truth. Because what is the fucking point? I want to stay friends with a bunch of assholes who don't have enough dignity, integrity, and courage to tell the truth about the biggest story of their life, COVID. I give a fuck about staying friends with those people or being shamed or ostracized. Shame on those people. I can hold my head up high and look myself in the mirror. This guy never had any integrity. That's how he got to be where he is. That's how people like Joe Scarborough get there, and Rachel Maddow, and Chris Hayes, and Lawrence O'Donnell, and Anderson Cooper, because they don't have any integrity. That's how you get there.
Jimmy, are you as a young guy, are you impressed though, at least, that in his quest to not be shamed, he has become absolutely shameless?
Yeah, haha. I think there's more to this.
4 years. How could you? And they did a very good job, at least until they couldn't hide it anymore, of hiding it, of making it so that it was very hard to know. Yes, but he didn't do a lot of press conferences. Yes, he didn't do a lot of media interviews. But, when he did things, the thing I always remember is he gave the State of the Union speech earlier this year, and he was fine.
Again, he's still a lying
the one
asshole.
with the red background.
It was really hard to tell. It was super easy to tell.
me and Kyle made a Fresh Press episode just based on his insane State of the Union with the bright red background.
No, that wasn't a State of the Union. That was just some speech he gave trying to demonize MAGA and split the country. That was the red, yeah.
Oh, the State of the Union.
The State of the Union when he was screaming,
got killed.
Yeah, when he was screaming at the top of his lungs the whole time, like a madman, like someone who's demented, and
or a deaf person.
Yeah, or a deaf person.
There were no obvious signs of decline. I mean, yes, he looked like a 70, an 80-year-old guy, but I wasn't like, this man cannot, under no circumstances, be president. So they did a good job.
Obviously, he also doesn't know anybody who's old, because there are some people that are 80 and look youthful are able to function.
That's right.
And then, this is so disturbing that I'm seeing journalist after journalist come out and they're like, well, I should have asked the harder question. You're right, Jimmy. It's like, yeah, you didn't ask the hard question. And they're still not asking the hard question.
No.
Like, who's running the country?
Like, who's running the country now?
Wait, my grandfather at 96 years old, I held conversations with him and he did nothing like Biden. Stop saying age. That's the big lie.
Right.
That's how they do the little
lie
to put that in.
My dad was 91, 2 years old. We had fine conversation at my nephew's wedding. No problem.
Hiding it for a long time.
It's nonsense.
But journalists, and I put myself here, you've got to, we should have been pushier. I don't want to speak for everyone, I should have not let the shame campaign to make you feel bad for asking the question get to me. Because it's now clear from both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times piece that there was real deterioration even before, and by the way, all the reporting that we've seen since the June 27th debate, it's not just these two stories, that there was real and significant decline in Joe Biden, and that it was being managed by the people around him. They were insulating him. They were keeping sort of the political world out.
You did it.
Sort of
you were part
in.
of it.
And that should have been something we knew more about.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and you might think it doesn't apply, but I don't trust anyone with bisexual glasses frames. And by that, I mean his are blue. That's all I mean. And there's something about that is so dishonest. I don't know how else to put it.
Let me think about it. Do I have a pair of blue glasses?
Yes, I like blue glasses.
I don't think I have a pair.
No, you don't. But I've wanted.
But I used to have. I think I
wanted a light blue one.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So here's Mahamaga lady. Listen to what she says about Chris Cillizza.
This man didn't just not ask questions about Joe Biden because the Biden White House told him it would be ageist to do so. No, this guy was in on it.
That's right.
All these guys were in on it.
Yes.
Here is what Chris...
Because they looked at it as fighting Trump and fighting Hitler. That's why they were all in on it. That's why they all lied.
Why does this young chick know?
That's right.
How old is she? 20? She sees it.
She knows it.
Cillizza wrote for CNN at the time. Republicans keep trying to make Biden's mental capacity an issue. That's the headline. And the piece reads, this is the sort of gross, lowest common denominator politics that drive people away from public life. If Republicans have some sort of proof that Biden is declining, they should bring it forward.
So Chris Cillizza didn't give in to them shaming him. He was the one doing it to other people.
Yes.
Just like Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo wasn't the one being lied to about ivermectin. He was the one lying to you about ivermectin and shaming other people for telling the truth. That's what corporate news is. And that's what my old friends in Hollywood think we still need to censor people like me, but not people like CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Yeah.
They're all in on it. They're all constantly lying. Chomsky proved this with manufacturing consent over 25 years ago.
Well, you know what, Jimmy? They're not all in. What they're doing is, it's like you're checking out and giving into a hypnotic suggestion because they say the same phrases over and over again, right? Democracy's on the ballot, that kind of thing. Very similar to Rwanda with cut the tall trees on the radio. So they don't want to have to think about it. What they want is for it to be handled like an app. So that's how they're all in. They're all in on not being conscious of anything going on and going with the herd. And you're an asshole.
That's right.
Do you care about your career?
So I always thought, so that's the weirdest thing that I've experienced in Hollywood is that I came to Hollywood not as an actor, but as a stand-up comedian. And I always wanted to be George Carlin. That was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be George Carlin.
You wanted tax problems?
And And so I always that's why I always liked being part of the comedy community, because we didn't
Right.
go along with the herd. We were the
I
ones.
thought that too.
We were the ones who got to stand up and say the emperor has
Right.
no clothes, and we got to poke holes in the status quo, and we got to push
Yeah.
back on things but then that all went away when Donald Trump became president. That all went away.
Even before.
You were
Even
you
before
were
it was
all
going.
you weren't allowed to tell the truth. People got mad at me for telling the truth about Barack Obama being a
Yes.
complete piece of it and a warmonger.
Occupy.
People got
Dude, Occupy.
You got
is where it started.
yeah, that's right. So you weren't allowed to tell the truth. I'm talking about comedians.
Yeah, I'm exempt from your stupid
I'm-
HR rules from your job.
Yes.
That's why I took this job, so I don't have to observe the nonsense you do in
That's
a corporate
right.
environment.
But that all changed. Even just me, when I supported Tulsi Gabbard, that was it. I became completely. I was all ready because I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, and I told
Yeah.
people not to, and I told people make Hillary Clinton come get your vote. She's not doing that. Hillary
Right.
could come get my vote. She won't. Just like Joe Biden wouldn't come get
That's
my
not
vote.
beta. You're supposed to be beta.
Just like
That's not beta.
just like Kamala Harris, come get my vote. They won't come get my vote. They
You're
won't
supposed to
offer
woo
me
the
anything to vote
politician.
for.
You have to woo them.
So comedy and comedian, they all flipped it. So now that's what I loved about, and I'm still a comedian, and I'm still upholding the traditions of comedy where you get to tell the truth and go against the herd. But that's what journalism is. It's all herd thinking. It's cult-like thinking. My
It's Hollywood.
old comedy friends, they still say ivermectin is horse paste. They have cult thinking. They still say, I thank God for the vaccine. I thank God for, and I can't believe you would criticize Fauci. I've had people in comedy say that to me.
I wish you'd say their names so we could trash them.
I've had people say that to me in comedy.
I know.
I can't believe
I
that you
want to
would.
trash them publicly.
What are you, a Trumper? No, I'm a
Yes.
comedian. You're supposed to make fun of the powerful.
Well, that's, Jimmy, that's why I always, when I'm talking with anybody, I go, just so you know, I don't believe in America. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's so shocking to them, but I don't want to hear that I like Trump because I don't believe in this shit.
Right.
So I want to establish what I'm saying. I'm not a campaigner. Like, I'm allowed to point out facts, like how Adam Schiff
McKay.
is yelling at the guy for doing his job.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to campaign for you. I'm supposed to do a thing separate from you. But they want you to campaign. I'm with her.
That's right.
Dude, I'm with her.
So here, there's more. So this is Chris Cillizza. So all these guys are liars. So Chris Cuomo, Chris Cillizza, Chris Hayes, all the Chris's, they're all liars. The Rachel Maddows, the Anderson Coopers, they're all liars because they're all in on it.
BDSM
They were
fan,
all in
Chris
on it,
Hayes.
just like all my comedian friends. They were all in on the lie. Oh, the economy's doing great. How do you know? Restaurants are full. They would say this on stage.
Well, they're dumb.
Yeah, no, they're not dumb. They're in a cult. Here we go.
If they don't, they should stop doing what they're doing immediately.
So let me play that again. This is Chris
This
Cillizza.
man didn't just not ask questions about Joe Biden because the Biden White House told him it would be ageist to do so. No, this guy was in on it. All these guys were in on it. Here is what Chris Cillizza wrote for CNN at the time. Republicans keep trying to make Biden's mental capacity an issue. That's the headline. And the piece reads, this is the sort of gross, lowest common denominator politics that drive people away from public life. If Republicans have some sort of proof that Biden is declining, they should bring it forward. If they don't, they should stop doing what they're doing immediately.
That's Chris Cillizza. He was doing the thing he claimed someone was doing to him. They were shaming me. They were bullying me. They were making me feel bad for asking questions. No, you were the one doing that. And now
Why
here
is it-
he is lying about it. Lying. And
Like
that's what
Nuremberg.
that's what a corporate journalist is, a professional paid liar. Over to stuff.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. There's a part earlier where they were showing the debate when it was Julian Castro
Yeah.
talking to Biden, and Joe Biden can't understand what Julian was talking about. He has to turn to Bernie Sanders to get what he just said to him so he could argue some more. That's what you want. You want to be on a debate stage. What'd that guy just say to me? And then Bernie indulging him. Bernie, that whole election said, Joe Biden's my very good friend.
My good friend Joe Biden.
Yeah, so
Joe, come on.
And that's what they were depending on. Everybody that supported Bernie, that would just jump over to Joe Biden. Yikes.
So
Back to Jimmy.
So Don Lemon has a show on YouTube that very few people watch, even though he's on the good algorithm. So now we're considered borderline content. Why? Because we're going to tell truths about the establishment they don't want you to know. We're going to tell you the truth about COVID and lockdowns and vaccines and the Ukraine war and Russiagate, all that stuff. And Syria and the gas attacks. We're going to debunk the establishment narrative on it because it's all a lie. So they deem us borderline content. So they
Is that the term?
So they suppress us in the algorithm. That's happening. That's happened since we started the show. So
by the way, Jimmy, truth and lies are right on the border of each other. Of course, it's borderline because it's neither or. You're lying, you're telling the truth.
So Don Lemon is on the corporate algorithm, just like the Young Turks, just like Kyle Kalinske and Ray, what's her name, Crystal Ball. They're on the corporate algorithm. They're on the good one. So their content gets pushed. And they don't get their subscribers unsubscribed from their show like we do. Constant.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they still can't get views. Don Lemon still, even with all the help of the Google algorithm and the YouTube algorithm, still can't get views. We still get 18 to 20 some million views a month on YouTube, plus the stuff that we get on Rumble, just to let you know.
I got to start watching him, honestly.
So,
in fairness to him.
So here's that. By the way, so they had been asking me for weeks to do Don Lemon's show. And I kept saying no. And I finally, Jackson Hinkle talked me into it. He goes, dude, that would be great to watch you. I'm like, all right. So I said yes. The morning I was supposed to go on his show, they canceled.
Yeah. Of course.
Of course. So anyway,
this guy looks like a bartender. He wants to
yes.
put a cup his balls on his hand and put it in his
So
face.
here's Don Lemon interviewing here's a regular American black guy on the street, and he's going to talk. So there's this bullshit going around that Elon Musk is the guy running the country now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trump's not even officially president.
He's not
yet.
even president yet. They're saying that the Elon Musk is the. So again, he's the only bad billionaire. You know, Kamala Harris had more billionaire donors than Donald Trump. You know that, right?
Reid Hoffman fled the country.
They had more billionaire donors and more billionaire money in Kamala Harris's campaign than in Donald Trump's. Just so you know. So this again, this is more propaganda that Elon Musk is running the country, just like the propaganda that Russiagate was real and Putin was running the country. You remember that? It's the same thing. So this is the new establishment talking point to divide the country. Except now they're not trying to divide the country; they're trying to divide Elon Musk from Donald Trump, and of course Don Lemon, mush brain that he is, corporate mouthpiece talking point. Even though he doesn't work for a corporation anymore, can't help himself because that's how the gears work. And so he goes out and he tries to push this lie to another black guy on the street. And watch this.
Who is the real president-elect, do you think?
Donald Trump won, I believe.
Democratic lawmakers in Washington are calling Elon Musk President Musk now, and they're saying Donald Trump is the vice president or the head of communications.
What's? Wait a second. No one said that.
Really? Have you not watched and paid attention to the news?
Absolutely not. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing during my day so I can try and get a better life and get ahead.
Okay, do you have your phone with you?
I do.
Why don't you Google right now?
Yes, tell me.
President Musk and see what comes up.
No. But that's already a loaded question, you realize.
Tell me, give me the sources.
Axios, Business Insider.
Oh.
We don't trust any of these. The common man doesn't trust any of this.
Keep going.
ABC News, Washington Post, New York Times,
keep going.
The Atlantic.
Oh!
I don't trust any of these.
Oh!
I don't trust any of them.
Okay.
I don't trust any of these. We're the common man. We don't trust any of these. No one trusts the government. No one trusts the common news. We don't trust any of that anymore.
Well,
Independent news, we are the ones that own the news now. People trust me. They don't trust MSNBC because I care and I'm actually one of them.
I can't disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I get a lot of people coming to me saying, I only watch, I don't watch corporate.
Wow. That guy just blew Don Lemon's mind. And you can see Don was hoping for a little more.
I agree with you.
Black on black shaming has got to come to an end. Enough is enough. Think of the children, especially the middle-aged ones who watch MSNBC.
Yeah.
I think there's a little more to this.
He didn't even
Right.
Yeah, nobody trusts corporate media anymore, Don. It's all over.
No, me neither.
It's all over. The Democrats trying to put a wedge between Trump and Elon might work if they weren't all parroting the exact same talking points every 5 minutes. Contrary to popular belief, the American people are not that stupid. I'm sure Elon is bullying Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Hey, you know Donald Trump, aka literal Hitler? He's being bullied by some African? The guy who they said was literal Hitler is being bullied by an African. I don't think so. Dr. Science Wiz says the same dumb a-holes who are still ignoring the fact that America has been run by unelected, unnamed, and unaccountable shadow cabal these past 4 years are spreading this BS about Elon Musk. They wonder why they're circling the drain. I think
How you know he's not in control? Because you're allowed to say his name. Where I've seen on Fox, don't say the name Soros.
I think
that's on Fox News. I've seen that.
I think Don Lemon was just checking in to see if that black guy agreed because you know, Don Lemon will say anything to get that guy if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it looks like Don's type.
So this is so fun. I want to watch it twice.
Who is the real president-elect, do you think?
Donald Trump won, I believe.
Democratic lawmakers in Washington are calling Elon Musk President Musk now, and they're saying Donald Trump is the vice president or the head of communications.
What's? Wait a second. No one said that.
Really? Have you not watched and paid attention to the
Absolutely
news?
not. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing during my day so I can try and get a better life and get ahead.
Okay, do you have your phone with you?
I do.
Why don't you Google right now?
Yes, tell me.
President Musk and see what comes up.
No. But that's already a loaded question, you realize.
Tell me, give me the sources.
Axios, Business Insider.
Oh.
We don't trust
Keep
any
going,
of these. The
keep
common
going,
man doesn't
keep
trust
going,
any of this.
keep going.
ABC News,
Oh,
Washington
keep
Post,
going.
New York Times,
Oh, keep going. Oh.
The Atlantic.
Oh!
I don't.
So Don Lemon still trusts the New York Times. Oh, Washington Post. Oh, New York Times. Huh? See? That's how stupid.
He says he doesn't.
Is there a dumber guy? And then at the end he says he doesn't trust. But he's screaming, oh. And
because he's trying to get some head too.
Trust any of these?
Oh!
I don't trust any of them.
Okay.
I don't trust any of these. We're the common man. We don't trust any of these. No one trusts the government. No one trusts the common news. We don't trust any of that anymore.
Well,
Independent news. We are the ones that own the news now. People trust me. They don't trust MSNBC because I care and I'm actually one of them.
I can't disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I
I
get a lot of people coming to me saying, I only watch, I don't watch corporate media anymore.
Right.
Because you were fired.
what do you just told the guy to look up corporate media. You were just having an orgasm after every time he named another corporate media source. Oh. And now he's like, oh yeah, I don't watch it either.
Not since
you want to go have a coffee
Morgan,
with me?
Mm-hmm.
Not since Piers Morgan interviewed Jackson Hinkle have I seen that kind of reaction.
I know. That's right. Okay, over to Steph.
All right, somebody's been acting as president who, and pretty much goes to show why they pulled January 6th on over. B-Man. Biden told his legendary corn pop wandering story at the Delaware pool that was renamed for him 2017. His brain was gone then, right, Lorene? I believe the person in charge of the Biden administration for the past 4 years was domestic policy advisor to the president, Joe Biden, Susan Rice. Thank you, Savage. Susan wasn't busy overseeing Netflix. While exposing greenwashing, please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You and Kurt, I believe, would greatly benefit from a discussion with Stanford professor Mark Jacobson. His email is public. Jazz.
About what? Why? Who's that guy?
While exposing greenwashing.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're asking for. Jazz.
That's what they're all doing. It's you know, we did a whole video about the people who claim, you can come to me. We did a whole video which a lot of people watched like last week about how Barack Obama, John Kerry, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, how they're all Jeff Bezos, how they're all they all do the greenwashing. They all give lip service to climate change. We got to fight it. And then they all go out in their 400-foot yachts with 5 diesel engines.
Yeah, I'd like him to expose Stanford actually.
Yeah.
More than green. I know about greenwashing.
Yeah, we know about
Stanford
greenwashing.
is
We
the
did that.
neural Bermuda Triangle where we did all our great human experimentation and probably still do.
Jazz, look what you created. You can come back to Steph. Sadikar, may I say, Kurt has grown on me so much, very intelligent, but I have an issue. I want more Randall. If he crowdfunds Ugly Americans, I'm in all the way. He should write it, though. Please, Kurt. All right, Sadikar.
That's not mine. That's somebody else's property.
Somebody else's. Kuznetsky, look at you, Kuznetsky. Every single one of Biden's senior cabinet is a Jew, besides Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, representative of the MIC, on the board of RTX Raytheon.
That can't be true.
Savage.
That can't be true.
Look it up,
And
folks,
by the way,
in the chat
listen,
to verify or not. Let me know.
That can't be
No.
true.
I don't think so.
By the way, Israel's not the end all be all on the top of the pyramid, if that's what people think. It's not. They're just blackmailing our, pedivore leaders.
Well, they're certainly
They're not
controlling
the
our foreign
king-
policy, Kurt.
Yeah,
What?
they're definitely controlling
Israel's certainly
our
controlling our foreign policy, not only of the president, but of everybody in Congress and the Senate too. I mean, they are
Even
pretty. Don't
Israel as a
downplay.
state
Don't downplay
trickles
how
down from
powerful they
England.
are. They're very. Every war we've ever gotten in the last 25
Right.
years is at the behest of Israel.
But they're at the behest of the Rothschilds, who have the actual Balfour documents, and that's an English thing. So we're actually under the royal family. We have royalists here. That's why they're all related. If you got rid of Israel, you're not going to get rid of the problem. You're not. And it is a problem, but it's not the
But
problem.
Kurt, didn't you send me that video about the guy who said where the Balfour Declaration came from? And remember that guy? It
No,
was like from
no.
1960 something, and he talked about how the Germans, when they went when they finally saw the Balfour Declaration, how they figured out what the game was. You didn't see that video?
No, I never saw that. But it's British. It comes from England.
Yeah, I
Okay?
know.
So
I know.
all the royals, they're still the kings. And
But
they're
the
related to
Balfour
all our presidents.
Declaration was in payment
To Rothschild.
to the Zionists for them, according to this guy, for them getting the United States into World War I. That was their payment.
Possibly, but that still comes from England.
And then the Germans found out that the Zionists had done that.
Right. The British royal family, for the record, is German, just so you know.
Okay.
They're all Germans. They're not English. They're Germans. And yes, that trickled down from the top. That's from the top. So look, it's all bad, but again, we are a larger, more despicable terrorist entity than even Israel, if you don't like Israel. America. Don't ever forget that, because people get all hung up like, oh, Israel's bad. You know what your country's done since the beginning? You must know. Where do you think it came from? We have not been independent from England since Woodrow Wilson. And that's when World War II started, or World War I started. And that's one of the very first. In fact, even in the Civil War, England was involved in that. They go back a long way. We
You
played
can
Tony
big screen,
Clausen
Kurt.
talking about it.
So
All right, back to Jimmy.
so
Oh, really quick question before you start this. You want to go to Rumble after this one?
yeah, after this we'll go
Okay,
to Rumble.
great. Thank you.
So this guy goes on Tim Pool's. I didn't know who this guy was, but I went and
would
looked
you?
him up. He's one of those guys who has a good algorithm. He's on the corporate algorithm.
Already?
Yes.
He already made it.
Yes.
That's a plan. It's called industry plan.
That's called an
The kids
industry
call it
plan.
that.
That's right. So he's doing the bidding of the establishment and the Democratic Party, which is the establishment party right now, this moment. And so he goes on and he starts parroting talking points about. First of all, I love this. Stop squinting at me. Tim Pool blasts liberal guests on January 6 lies. Don't you hate when someone squints at you, acting like you farted, and even if you did, that's a rude reaction.
Yeah.
Farts are nature. It's in God's hands.
You think Tim farted? And that's what it was.
Anyway, so you're an effing fascist. Give me some effing data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecution did a thing. You know the word fascist means a bundle of sticksist,
It does.
right? So it's kind of homophobic in a way, what Tim said. I'm just saying. Anyway, on a recent episode of Timcast IRL, what does the IRL stand for? That's my question. In real life? Oh.
Yeah.
On a recent episode of Timcast IRL, I was on one of them. I don't know if it was the IRL one or the other one. The show host, Tim Pool, crashed out on Luke Beasley
He crashed out.
That's
A term for when you're like going for broke and you're probably going to go to prison for this.
Oh, really?
And you don't care anymore. So it's kind of weird to use that way.
So he crashed out on Luke Beasley after he suggested January 6ers should not be pardoned by Donald Trump. After 30 minutes, about 30 minutes into the live show, the conversation turns to January 6 prisoners and how Trump plans to pardon some of them.
All of them.
He should pardon all of them. Guest Luke Beasley suggests he is against this because that was an FBI psyop. There were over 200 FBI guys, according to the congressman, former policeman who investigated it. Luke Beasley said not the whitewash of the Inspector General's report, which said there was 26, but we know that there were FBI assets inside the Capitol dressed up as MAGA supporters before the riot ever even started. Guest Luke Beasley suggests he's against this move, especially for those rioters that attacked police officers at the Capitol.
I don't believe any of them did that at all. Even the ones they said did, I don't believe it. Also, since when do Democrats love police officers? BLM and defund the police was a Democrat move. Now you love cops?
So here, by the way, here is, doesn't he? Hey, by the way, Harry Sisson called. He wants his face back. But he said you could keep his personality since he's not using it anymore.
Yeah, he's old.
If this guy ever went to prison, he'd last as long as about a Hot Pocket at a Comic-Con convention.
Bro, don't ever go to a Diddy party, kid.
All right.
Because you won't make it.
So here he goes. So here it is. Here's the big dressing down that Tim Pool gives this guy.
You have.
No,
right.
I
So,
haven't.
no. Stop. You don't know anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fucking fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now, I'm going to say it again, no charges whatsoever brought. He's been in jail for 3 fucking years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough, because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a fucking long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges did we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many fucking people went to prison for 3 years? How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th, and you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote, don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. You don't care what the facts are. You don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up. And this is the problem I have with the left. They don't know the facts. They don't care about the facts. They view morality as a blanket government stroke of the pen, and every person, regardless of their crime, should be in prison for decades. I reject it outright. The people who fought cops should go to prison. They did. It's been 3 years. But when you've got people who are on misdemeanor charges for having walked into a building at 4 p.m. after the riot, and I know some of these people, they walked into a building for 2 minutes and walked out, and they got 18 months for that. I don't see you defending the innocent people who walked onto a public grass at a public building after a riot had been completed. You don't know. You don't care. You've taken a tribal position, and people are suffering because of it. Now you say that Donald Trump saying the injustice that we've seen warrants commutation or pardons. You say that means he's advocating for violence. This is the ultimate problem. Then you cite a press release from Maryland saying, but the right's more violent. There is a distinction between a white supremacist as a right-wing group and a run-of-the-mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Strzok. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was yelling. They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Schroyer, who was at a permitted rally who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad, and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow
What
the
plot?
government.
Enrique Tarrio, is it?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them.
I'm just wondering, in 2024, is it sexual assault if someone hands you your ass? Because that kid got broken in like a freaking catcher's mitt. I mean, it's just. I mean,
I hate this kid's hair. It's like mirroring the hat of Tim Pool. It's like a hair hat.
You mean Luke Beasley's hair? This guy? You mean Harry Potter's friend from Wizard School? You mean that kid?
When did the Beasleys get into?
Look out, Harry Sisson. There's a new industry plant, Disney Politics Twink in town, and he knows even less about shit than you, Harry.
You're old and you know too much. Get out, Harry.
Again, he's
You're
the
past
perfect
your date.
example of smugnerant.
Yes.
Oh, I never heard that, but that is what it is.
It's a little bit Tim's fault. Isn't it just a little bit Tim's fault for even talking to him? I think so.
Why? Where'd this guy come from? Nowhere? He's like Lana Del Rey of pop music.
He's got a, like I said, he's on the corporate. He's got the favorable algorithm on YouTube, and that's that. Just like Harry Sisson, just like the Brooklyn Dad Defiant, they all get the favorable algorithm, like they would get on Twitter, and it's for real.
But Brooklyn Dad Defiant is almost a working Joe compared to this kid. That guy's old, and I don't know, he was just blathering, and they hired him. This kid was made in a lab.
Yeah.
Wherever they made Brian Stelter, where they were combining eggs and humans.
All right, we're gonna go to Rumble. You got
all right,
your
hold on. Let me get all set up here, girls.
You got your stuff.
I'm almost ready. Making sure to post
His
it.
face.
All right, we got that. The link is there. Hold on, let me pin it. And I have to refresh.
Did you get a delivery?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
Yes, I did, Jimmy.
Those are nice,
No,
right?
if you didn't know this,
My gosh. Oh my gosh.
What's that,
Jimmy.
Kurt?
If you didn't know Luke Beasley's politics, and I told you that he was a follower of Nick Fuentes or famous white supremacist Richard Spencer, you wouldn't know the difference. They're all gay guys. All these people are gay.
Okay, we are ready to hop over to
right,
Rumble.
we're gonna
We'll see you right there.
See you over at Rumble. Hey, I don't need to tell you that our current state of our healthcare system's awful. Despite record spending, Americans experience worse health outcomes than our peers globally, and big pharma, big medicine, and lobbyists that have made their way into places they shouldn't be often lead to the suppression of products like the Juvent Micro Impact platform. I have one. I've been using it. I've had it for over a year. This platform will transform the way you think about and approach overall health. Your bones and cells require regular, healthy micro impacts to function at their best. Subtle, low-level impacts, the kind you get from walking in leather sandals or thin-soled shoes, but most people don't walk in thin-soled shoes. Most of us are walking around in running shoes day to day.